What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's some of my final thoughts ahead of the Game Week 18 deadline. And just to explain this video, because there was a quick-ish turnaround between Game Week 17 and 18 and it's Christmas, I'm recording this on the 23rd of December, but it's probably not going to go out until the 25th. So I haven't used any press conference information and stuff like that because there's just nothing really out there at the time of recording. So basically, I've just answered a bunch of your questions, and I'm going to hope that there's not lots of injury news that comes out that impacts how I've answered those questions. If there is, I apologize, but that's why I wanted to give you the info at the start of the video so you can choose not to watch if you don't want to. If this does go out on Christmas Day and you've just woken up to watch it, Merry Christmas. Hopefully you have a good day. Don't spend too much time thinking about FPL, but do give it a little bit of thought because there is a deadline tomorrow. Anyway, I'm rambling. Give the video a like if you enjoy it. Hit that subscribe button. I forgot what I was going to say. Let's just get into it. So let's start with Arsenal attackers. Given Saka's injury, do we go for the safety of Odegaard with penalties and minutes, or punt on the likes of Trossard, Jesus, Martinelli if we want to stick with Arsenal attack? And since I put out the transfer tips video the other day, Arteta has spoken about Saka and he said it's not looking good. He's going to be out for many weeks. So even if he was just out until the end of January, maybe start of February, you're looking at kind of game weeks 23, 24. So he's got to be sold. And obviously with him out, the rest of the Arsenal attacker minutes go up. In terms of safety, it's as you've said, it's Odegaard, right? He's definitely going to play now. He's definitely going to play when Saka is back. In the meantime, he will have penalties. Not an exciting pick, I would say. And I think overall, you probably should be a little bit more worried about the Arsenal attack now Saka's not available, because he is one of the most creative players in that team. But in terms of a set and forget pick that will take you the odd penalty like Bruno Fernandes, Odegaard is the one. With the rest of them, even with the Saka injury, the minutes are just not secure enough. With Jesus and Havertz in particular, I don't like the fact they take up a forward spot. I think Isak looks great right now. I still personally like João Pedro, who's cheap. Cunha may be an option until he gets banned. Chris Wood, a lot of people have got. Jackson looks good as well. I quite like Solanke too. I just don't know if I would want to block any of those players with Havertz or Jesus, whose minutes aren't guaranteed. If I was going to go for another midfielder outside of Odegaard, it would probably be Martinelli, because he can play on the left and fill in on the right as well. But even he is not a guarantee to play 90 minutes week in, week out, or even to start. Because in some of the games, especially the easier ones, you could even see like a Trossard on the left, Havertz through the middle, and then Jesus on the right to give Martinelli a bit of a break. I think Martinelli probably is the one overall that wins out the most in terms of minutes over the next few weeks. And for less than 7 million, I do like that as a punt, especially up against like a Diaz or a Jota or someone like that from Liverpool. But it's almost certainly a transfer waiting to happen later on. So you've got to be sure he's going to get you enough points in the meantime. And with Ipswich straight away in Game Week 18, I do like the idea of going straight to another Arsenal attacker. But for me, unless it's Odegaard, I'd just be worried week to week about checking that team sheet too much to bring them in. So how likely is it that Man City will regain their previous season's form? Are any of their players worth looking at given their fixture run? So I do think because of the fixtures coming up over the next 5 game weeks, we might see an uptick in performance. But to get back to the level of previous seasons, I just don't see it. Like Rodri is a huge miss, and so is De Bruyne. I just think there's fitness concerns there, which means he won't play enough minutes to make a real impact. We saw against Aston Villa they were losing. De Bruyne's on the bench, didn't even come on. There's definitely bigger issues there, I would say, in terms of how many minutes he can play. With the fixtures, they're definitely worth looking at, right? So it's Everton at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home, Brentford away, Ipswich away. The only thing to say is you really do need points over those 5 game weeks, because straight away afterwards it's Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Newcastle at home, Liverpool at home, and then Spurs away, I guess, is not that bad. So the 4 fixtures after the next 5 are not amazing. Like I watched the game against Villa, you'd hardly have known that Haaland was even playing or even on the pitch. Like he just wasn't involved at all, hardly any shots whatsoever. And when I saw the Saka injury, one of my first thoughts was people with him in their squad, maybe they shift the funds to Haaland as a big differential. And it is a huge differential at this point. But are you prepared to captain him and to take money out of elsewhere? Because it's not just a straight Saka to Haaland swap. I'm not convinced it's worth it. The only player I'd maybe be looking at bringing in is Foden, who's played back-to-back 90 minutes. If De Bruyne is going to continue to struggle to play every game, then Foden will play centrally. And the fixtures are that good. You've got a Saka problem in your squad. You could maybe move to him if you're confident in the minutes as a short-term punt. I don't think there's anyone else I would buy. Like, defensively, they're just not at it. And Vardiol's got good goal threat. He almost scored against Aston Villa as well to add to the 4 he's already got. But is he better than bringing in a Liverpool defender right now? I'm not convinced he is. And there's no other defenders I would look at, no other midfielders either. And then you've got Haaland. So for me, I've not even thought about Man City. Like, it's such a weird place they're in right now. I like the next 5 fixtures. I like the punt on Foden. Maybe Vardiol. Possibly Haaland if you can make it work easily. But I just think however many transfers to get Haaland in, it's going to be almost the same amount to get him back out in 5-6 game weeks time. Just not convinced it's worth it. So do you think Chelsea will rotate again as it's a midweek fixture? Should those of us with Jackson bench him to avoid a potential cameo off the bench? So on that last question, unless Maresca gives us a massive hint about rotation, there is no way I would bench Jackson. He's too good. He's got to be in your 11. In general, will Chelsea rotate? It's really hard to know, is the honest answer, because the last time it happened was a midweek fixture, but it was also against Southampton. So did Maresca rotate because it was midweek and he was worried about fatigue and stuff like that? Or was it midweek and the fact it was Southampton? If that had been Man United away, would he have rotated all those players? Probably not. And when you look at the fixture run, Chelsea have just played Everton on Sunday. The next game's against Fulham at home on Thursday, which is not an easy fixture. Fulham have played very well this year. It's not like playing Southampton at all. And then for Chelsea, it's actually quite a nice turnaround. Their next game after that is Monday. So there's Sunday, Thursday, Monday, Saturday. I think the likes of Jackson will probably play all those games. Obviously with Jackson, he's 1 yellow card away from suspension, so he's still got to get through the next 2 matches. But forgetting about that, I think the turnaround in schedule for Chelsea is quite good. So I think if you've got Colwill, Jackson, who were rotated against Southampton, I just wouldn't worry about it. I would basically make your decisions as if they're going to play, because we haven't got enough to go on. We know Chelsea rotate in Europe, but that's a bit different. Some of those players like Palmer, etc., they're not even in the European squad. I think for the Premier League, Fulham at home, Ipswich away are just not as easy as Southampton away. And because of that, I don't think they'll rotate. So if you've got Chelsea players, you're probably playing them in both of those fixtures. So why is no one considering Anthony Gordon? One simple reason might be that he hasn't had a huge amount of big scores recently, and often people won't transfer in players until that started to happen. I also think if you look at people's squads recently, most midfields are Salah, Palmer, Saka, so that's 3 of your 5. Then you probably need a cheap player as well, at least. And if you're playing 3-4-3, there probably just wasn't room for Gordon. But that has slightly changed now with that Saka injury. I think he's a pretty good option. I don't think the boat has been completely missed on Newcastle players, especially with Isak. But I think with Isak, when you put context around the other forward options that we have to pick from, he's by far and away the best right now. With Gordon, that is not the case with midfielders. You've still got Salah, you've got Palmer, Odegaard people are looking at, we've already talked about, Bruno Fernandes, etc. There's a lot of competition. And I think because of the next couple of fixtures for Newcastle, it doesn't feel like such a rush to get Gordon in compared to maybe with Isak. Like Villa at home is not bad. Villa at home is not bad. Man United away not bad either. But they're not amazing fixtures. And there are lots of other good midfielders right now and cheap ones too. Like Sarr, Semenyo, Ahmad, Enzo, people are looking at to have funds elsewhere. So I think sometimes in FPL, you just get to a point in the season where a player might just not fit in with what people are trying to do with their squads. But in general, I actually quite like Gordon. Because like I said, the next 2 fixtures are not terrible. And the ones after that, Spurs away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, really good. And he has been benched recently, back in Gameweek 15 where he played 30 minutes. But generally his minutes have been quite good. He had 90 against Ipswich, 80 against Leicester. I think Eddie Howe, by the way, around that Brentford game was talking about fatigue. So maybe he just felt like he had to take him out of the team. I would expect Gordon to start probably 5, if not 6 of the next 6, and they're pretty decent overall. So for 7.2, I think he's quite good. But again, if I'm thinking about trying to get Isak in, I'm trying to get Trent. I also like keeping an Arsenal defender. I don't want to sell Bruno. And I'm relating this to my own team, but lots of you be in a similar position. I'm probably going down to sub 6 million rather than going for Gordon. But if you're looking in and around that price, he probably is the best option. Because the other one would be someone like Jared Bowen. But I think most of his good fixtures are almost run out. Like Southampton away is really good in 18, but then it's Liverpool and City. You've got Villa away in 23, Chelsea away in 24. Probably the wrong time to buy him versus Gordon. And in Burma, I think he's fine to hold, but probably not one to buy either. So at his price, he's decent. But if I had the money to go up to Bruno Fernandes or maybe even Odegaard instead, that's probably what I would do. So would you rather go for double Liverpool defence or double Liverpool attack? Now, ideally, especially with Leicester at home right in front of them, I'd rather go for double attack. So get Salah and then go for another differential, like possibly Diaz, a punt on Jota. But because of my play style for FPL, I would have to choose double defence because I would take the minutes. Like, I just don't see myself transferring in right now any of Nunez, Jota, Diaz and Gakpo because there's just too many rotation concerns. If someone like Jota was to get another injury and be out, and because of how few goals Nunez has scored recently, I might talk myself into going for Diaz. But even then, I'd be more tempted to go for the double defence instead and just get Alisson or Van Dijk alongside Trent and have that security of minutes, especially with the good fixtures they've got coming up and that double potentially later on. Also, and it's still really hard to discuss because we don't have the manager prices and stuff like that, it might be that you want Slot for that double as your third Liverpool player, right? Because he might be an option for your assistant manager chip. So I still question whether it's worth blocking off all the spots for Liverpool right now because we know Salah's won. Lots of people are going to go for a defender. It's about whether or not to get that third. And I know it's Leicester, but I still think there's an argument to be made to leave it open, basically. I think with the attackers, it's not a bad time to go for a bit of a punt because of that Saka injury. But overall, there's a lot of options to go for where you don't need to put in a second Liverpool. And in defence, Trent and Van Dijk could be quite nice, but it's also quite expensive at a time where Munoz looks good. Some people have gone for Fulham defenders, etc. So safety, defence, fun, potential excitement if they play, attack. So is it worth keeping Aït-Nouri? I think the simple answer is no. I just don't see enough clean sheets over the next few game weeks. Any team that had Wolves fixtures, I wouldn't be that confident in clean sheets, let alone when it is literally Wolves. And I know they had a good result under the new manager for the first game, 3-0 away win against Leicester, but that's Leicester, right? They're not looking great right now. Like coming up, Man United at home, Spurs away, Forest at home, Newcastle away, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Villa at home, Liverpool away. The way football works, they probably will get 1 or 2 clean sheets over that run, but on paper, I would not put money on them getting a clean sheet in any of those games. So I think, yes, at times he has attacking potential, and that may well continue under the new manager, but it's not enough to keep hold of him at 4.8 million. So if you haven't done so already, you've got to get rid. And if you've got a spare transfer and you need to play him, I mean, you could leave him on the bench for a bit, but I don't think he's going to be very useful for you over the next few weeks. And I'd probably buy Munoz at Crystal Palace. I just think he is the best under 5 million defender to buy right now. If you've got the money to go to Trent or maybe Van Dijk, someone like that, you could do that too. So do you think it's best to have 2 medium to high price forwards at the moment or go super hard on defence like you have? So I think the best way to answer this is to use that if I was wildcarding example. So if I was using the chip this week, what would I do? Definitely have Isak, and then I'm almost certain I would have one of Jackson or Solanke to go alongside him. So I would have 2 medium to high price forwards and then 1 cheap forward like Evan Nielsen or João Pedro. And actually a few weeks ago it looked like there was a ton of forward options. That list has kind of dwindled a little bit for a few reasons, right? One is like form and price with Haaland. Cunha's got a potential impending ban. So as much as if you've got him, you might hold him until he gets banned. You're not going to buy him right now. Even Chris Wood, I think he's okay to hold on to, but 2 away games next 3, Liverpool at home in 21. I'm not sure he's a buy. Visser's got bad fixtures. Watkins just been benched twice in a row. There's not too many forwards. So getting Isak, who's nailed, Solanke, who's nailed, Jackson, who's nailed, 2 of them, that sounds pretty good to me. And João Pedro continues to get minutes. And in terms of going hard on defence. I think with the Saka injury, we'll see more people put funds into their defence. But I don't think you need to look at something like I've been running the last few weeks. 3 Arsenal, 1 Liverpool. I'm going to sell one of my Arsenal soon, which will almost certainly be Saliba. I might keep Raya for a while longer because goalkeeper transfers are ultimately boring. I want to leave a spot open to potentially go to Alisson. Gabriel's got great attacking threat and Trent's staying until he potentially gets injured. But I wouldn't go for as much money in defence as I have recently. I just don't think it's needed. I think 2 medium to high price forwards probably looks a bit better. For what it's worth, with Jackson still on 4 yellows, even without that, I quite like Solanke that he's cheaper. And he has been quite consistent when he started. But anyway, I'd probably go Isak, Solanke, but maybe I'm a bit biased because I've got Solanke in my team. I'll leave that video there. If you've enjoyed it, please do give it a like and hit that subscribe button. Hopefully, I will have a Boxing Day deadline stream tomorrow. I'm going to aim for 9 a.m. until 11 a.m., but I can't promise I'll definitely be online at 9 a.m. Either way, whatever you're doing today, whether you're celebrating Christmas or not, I hope you're having a good one. Thanks for all the support over this year as normal. Much appreciated. I don't want to get like too soppy about this, but I think it's an absolute privilege that I can record this while I'm away visiting family. People are still going to watch it and I can call this a job. It's absolutely ridiculous. And thank you for allowing me to continue to do it. So Merry Christmas and I'll catch you tomorrow. Hopefully anyway. I don't think there'll be that many drinks on Christmas Day.